Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are, whichever realms of existence you are, whatever mind states you're in, whatever conditions you're in, you are, as always, welcome, of course, to my channel. Yes, I am here at Greenway today, Agatha Christie, on the grounds of Agatha Christie's Greenway holiday home, and it's amazing. But I thought it would be a nice, found a little spot out of the way, off the beaten path, as it were, to make a little video. With quite a nice view through the trees here. So the sheep on the hillside there. But anyway, so I wanted to make a video about I've been you'll see in future videos that I've been having some hitting the wall again, as it were, as I've hit several times in the course of my explorations and study and participation in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, having difficulty, having very strong doubts, and some doubts that just won't budge, and and then going through a period where those doubts kind of recede a bit and not really, aren't don't seem as prevalent or pressing, but I came into that about several months ago. I started heading in that direction again, so anyway, recently I've started. You probably see in my other more recent videos. In recent months, I've started to follow the suggestion of Reverend Ray through working with Kyokan, of reading all of the sutras, the Pure Land Sutra, the 3 Pure Land Sutras through and through, and then going on to read the collected works through and through of Shinran, to have a more direct understanding of Jodo Shinshu. That shouldn't take away from reading bits here and there, aspects of the teaching and different writings of our Dharma masters and different sections of the sutras and things like that. But I think at some point it just makes sense that all of us really should, if the teaching is for me alone, we should really read all of the teachings for ourselves through and through, in order to have a better understanding. So anyway, I'm doing that, and in the course of doing that, quite a lot of the working of Amida has really kind of I'd say popped out or come to fruition or made things pop out in the teachings, and the teaching has been made much more real to me than I think ever before in my whole almost 20 years. I would say at least 17 years of exploring, possibly more than that, of exploring Pure Land and Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. In recent months, in recent weeks, the teachings have become much more real to me than ever before, in this process of Amida working. And one of the things that has become very real and clear to me is that Buddhism is the true teaching for all time, for all universes, for everyone, for all beings in every world, everywhere. It is the true teaching. It is the true religion. It is the religion that has the full truth, has the full teaching of precisely and accurately how things work in samsara and nirvana, and all the realms of samsara, and how just everything, the whole it has the whole picture. It's the whole true teaching, as I say, for all times, all places, all worlds of the 10 directions. It is the true teaching. And I've talked about in other videos and other reflections and in my discussions with Kyokan, other religions, and how we should approach them. And I still hold that true, how a Jodo Shinshu should approach other religions. But full disclosure, I have to say that Buddhism and Jodo Shinshu Buddhism have become so much more real and true to me than ever before in recent weeks, in recent months, in this whole process, as I say, to the point where everyone has to live according to and is going to experience their life and lives and births and rebirths in samsara according to their karma. They're going to experience that, and that includes what religion they're drawn to, and what or what their kind of perception, or philosophy of life is. But I have to say, pretty much Buddhism is correct. Where everything else may be partially correct, might have certain things that are kind of right, but generally compared to Buddhism, there's no comparison. No other philosophy, no other religion even comes close to the comprehensive, accurate, true teaching and nature of Buddhism. Nothing. Just nothing. There is nothing that is more true and real than Buddhism in general, and Jodo Shinshu in particular. Everything else is way beneath that in terms of its efficacy, its accuracy, its understanding, its teaching. It's just every other religion and philosophy is just pales, doesn't even pale. It's beyond pales in comparison. It's it's not even in the same ballpark. It's just Buddhism is supreme, is the supreme teaching, the supreme religion, the supreme spiritual path for all beings, and that's just become so evident and clear to me and real to me, as I say, in recent months. And I would say there are some religions that are better than others, but still just way beneath. I'd say kind of down from Buddhism would be probably next, but it would be Taoism, but pretty far beneath it in terms of just the full comprehensive nature of Buddhism and accuracy of it and just truth of it. And then way beneath that probably would be kind of the other dharmic religions, the Hindu, religions, and then so I would say the next down from Buddhism, way down on the second tier, we'll call it, is the Taoic religion. So Taoism, Confucianism, and any other Taoic, any Taoic kind of inspired religion would be kind of on that second tier, but that's still way beneath Buddhism. And then way beneath that would be any other religion. old or new, um, whether it's paganism or the Abrahamic religions, and I say the four Abrahamic religions because I include Baha'i faith in the Abrahamic religions. They're probably at the bottom. To be just a full stop. To be full disclosure, as far as my bamboo limited understanding of things, but through but compared to Buddhism, they're at the bottom. I have to say, as far as the least helpful, the least truthful, the least supportive or efficacious of any true spiritual truth would be the Abrahamic religions. In fact, I think they're very destructive. I think they're probably the most destructive, and have been the most destructive religions on the face of the planet, of known religion, of known time. And they're all connected to the, probably the Sumerian religions and other, it's all from that. It's all from the much more ancient stuff that we are now knowing. But it's just not, just the least helpful, and I would say harmful to beings. Now, I know Buddhas in their upaya use anything. They can use any and all things to reach beings, to teach beings, Buddhism Bodhisattvas can express their compassion and wisdom in the teachings, to reach beings and teach beings and transmit the Dharma to beings through anything, to prepare them to eventually be able to see the truth and accept the truth and follow the path of Buddhism in some later lifetime type of thing. So that would include the Abrahamic religions. But I would personally, just what I see in them, they are just the least helpful, the least, and they in fact are harmful. And I think I have to say that I think they are used or have been created, or, by, or not created, but what I mean, they've been originated by possibly lower devas, like Ajuras or powerful pretas, who masquerade as their god, as the god in these religions. And that's a whole nother topic that I probably will cover in a, I suspected when I would, when I read about, when I've read about this, or when I've reflected on this, I should say, before, I've thought that, and then, there is, one particular teacher that talks about that, and I have to say I do kind of agree with them about about this, and kind of did, even before I had heard them talk about this and teach about this, I did, was already kind of leaning that way, about this masquerading. It's kind of like, when I would explore other religions after I had encountered Buddhism, and Buddhism had really been established as probably the main religion in my life, or the main spiritual path in my life, I would see the other religions through its lens, and I would look at, like, how the cosmology works and things like that. But one of the things I did explore was the Gnostic spiritual paths at one point, and at many points, I should say, years ago. And I always come back to Buddhism from it, and it almost seems like it almost seems like people from Abrahamic traditions trying to be Buddhist almost through them, especially the Valentinians. But anyway, or trying to be almost Hindu kind of. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. In Gnostic beliefs, in Gnostic teachings, that there's this idea that the quote unquote God of this world is masquerading as the true God, and they're not. And when I would hear that, or when I was exploring those, just out of interest, or even out of sincere spiritual journey type of explorations, I would think that I would think of it in a Buddhist sense, and I'd be like, well, yeah, there'd be beings that would it'd be probably powerful, evil, uh, jealous, attention-seeking beings who would fit the description of the Abrahamic God, um, and would do that, would masquerade as, in Buddhist cosmology, would masquerade as a god or gods, of these religions. And so I kind of already had that in my mind. And there's also teachings of how, when certain beings come into, after the great kalpa, the massive kalpa, the very long kalpa that spans, just incalculable time, where the whole of all existence kind of comes into being, and then grows, and then it remains established for a while, and then dissolves in this very long process of it coming into being from those original kind of just subtle beings that kind of become like star-like beings, and then they're attracted to there's this like layer of honey-like sweet formation forms, and they become attracted, and then it eventually turns into all the worlds, and all the first the heavens start to get the very high heavens start to get populated, and then the lower heavens, etc. And at one point I remember reading about that, where when that certain one of the heavens, I think, it might be more than one of the heavens, but where that first being, that first Dewa is born into that being, is born into that, is born into that heaven. They, in whichever way that happens for that, that realm of being, they think they're the only one, and they think they've created it, and they fall into this delusion, and actually now I'm remembering, and then the Buddha goes to deal with that God, to reveal their delusion to them. I think it's Brahma, in fact, that the Buddha goes to teach, to reveal their delusion to them. So that God thought fell into the delusion that they were a god. So it just, all of that kind of makes, if I put all that together and think about lower Dewas and how they're would be even more susceptible to wanting the attention, and wanting the power, and wanting the glory, and wanting and being jealous of having that power, and having beings adore them and worship them, it made sense that there's probably lower Devas that would do that, would masquerade as a god. And I think that's happening with the Abrahamic religions, and probably and other religions as well, but particularly those. And it's not good. It is not good. It's not a good consciousness to fall into, or to be indebted, or enslaved, or brainwashed into, or programmed into. It's very harmful. That is now I think about it, that's obviously my family, I was born into that, because of my own karmic causes. I was born into a family that was very fundamentalist, not super healthy in their consciousness with this whole thing, fundamentalist kind of evangelical, Pentecostal, and that's not to say I don't have nostalgic, fond memories, and there weren't some good things that came out of that for me, that I've reflected on in other videos. I mean, one of the things they do get true is the times in which we live. That is one thing that the fundamentalist evangelicals kind of millennial, not millennial in the age group, but millennialistic, as far as the millennium, like, them thinking that we're, in the end times and things like that. Now, obviously, as Buddhists, we think very differently about how that all works. But that is one thing that they kind of did get right. We're living in Mappo. We're living in, the degenerate age. We are living in the, but anyway, I was born into that, and I can tell you, it's very unhealthy. I've come to see, especially in recent weeks and recent months, with Amita in, kind of shining a light on all this for me, and in my own life, there's multiple layers of how of programming with Abrahamic religions, and each of them are part of it's almost like they're all part of the same program. They're all part of the same, and they each do have their own set of programming that they program people toward. It's like one big giant spiritual psyop of these beings that have hijacked or originated these religions in the first place, to really control people and control our world and control many aspects of our world in various ways, very diabolic, very unhelpful, and very powerfully. And it's kind of disgusting, actually, frankly, but I'm not to say there's not any good in these religions. I'm just saying, full disclosure, seeing what I see now, I can't, not feel that way. And they're almost, I would say they're like a samsaric religion. They actually perpetuate samsaric existence in people. And the Pure Land, and the larger sutra talks about that, how people are taught the wrong things. Not just from religion, but from just they're passed on from their families, the wrong views, the wrong view of things, the wrong approach to things, the wrong perception of things, and that's just perpetuated down through the generations. Well, let me tell you that I would say the Abrahamic religions do a number on people, and have done a number on people for many years, and a number on the world. And it's not good. It's really not good. It's, like I say, it's probably like the biggest spiritual psyop, and the most ancient and longest running one, to kind of control people and steer the world towards certain things. That's all. I'm not going to go further into it than that, but anyway, it's just, compared to Buddhism, like Buddhism is the ultimate truth, and the ultimate liberating religion. And then, the further you go down the list of religions, and the further you get away from the true dharmic religion of Buddhism, away from that, the more it becomes samsaric, and the more it becomes entrapping and binding and imprisoning in samsaric, in the cycle of samsaric existence. Anyway, these are things that just come really true to me, as I say, in recent weeks and recent months. Things I've kind of seen here, a bit here and there before, but it's never been this real to me and this powerful to me. And that's not to say, we still shouldn't be tolerant and kind, and but I think at the same time we need to be realistic as Buddhists, as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, about these other religions, and about their nature, and about how they operate and have operated, and what they do to people, and the damage that they do to people's mind stream. It's kind of horrific, actually. And compared to Buddhism, like Buddhism does the opposite of that. Buddhism liberates, Buddhism frees, Buddhism enlightens. Buddhism, gives true wisdom and true compassion. With these other religions, it's always conditional. Even though they say, oh, God has unconditional love, it's total BS. Total BS. They do not. If you look at their teachings about their, supposed creator and whatnot, it's totally conditional. It's totally not conditional. It's totally unwise behavior. It's totally not compassionate, behavior. Yeah, and it's in many ways genocidal. If you look at Abrahamic, their sacred text, their so-called sacred texts. I mean, it's like genocide and misogyny and abusiveness, and just horrid things from their deity, from this so-called God. So you know. Anyway, it's just full disclosure in my reflections, that I just never saw it on this level before, or experienced how real Buddhism was before, and how just everything else just pales in comparison, and in fact does the opposite of what Buddhism does, by degrees. As I say, other than the Taoic religions are not like this. I'm talking about the Abrahamic, and anything of that ilk, or anything that resembles that in that kind of way, is just not. It's just not good. And the Taoic is not harmful like that. It's not the whole truth, but it's not harmful like the Abrahamic religions are, as far as I'm concerned. It's not, and I say four. There's four. It's there's four of them, including the Baha'i faith. I include in that. So anyway, I'm just glad. I'm so grateful that I am a Buddhist, that Amita's good from the past has, and Amita's working through Jin and Honi, through and all my past existences have brought me to this lifetime to be born as a human being, where I could fully encounter the Buddhist teachings in a way that is real, true and real. So I think that reflection has gone on for as long as it had to. And I thank you for listening. I'm going to keep it under, it looks like I'm coming in under half an hour, which is good. And we'll see you next time. I'll take us out with some Nembutsu. Namo Amida Boo, 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 Namida 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 Boo, Namanda 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 Boo, Namanda, Namanda. Take care. See you next time.